Good morning on this beautiful day in Fort Worth. I'm Eric Lee, Director of the Kimbell Art Museum, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the opening symposium of the exhibition From the Lands of Asia, the Sam and Myrna Myers collection. This exhibition features the collection of a husband and wife team who formed while living in Paris for over 50 years, one of the finest privately held collections of Asian art in the world. We are honored to have the exhibition at the Kimbell, in the first public exhibition of the collection in the United States. In terms of the number of works in the show, 450, it is the largest exhibition ever mounted by the Kimbell and the first exhibition to occupy both the entire South and West galleries of the Piano Pavilion. The exhibition offers a panoramic history of Asian cultures from ancient times to modern days, representing key periods in the history of the art of China, Japan, Tibet, Mongolia, Korea, and Vietnam. We're thrilled that Sam Myers is here with us today from Paris, and I thank him for sharing his treasures with our audiences. Over the next few months, we have an exciting lineup of programs in conjunction with the exhibition. This spring, the Fort Worth Japanese Society will present culturally specific free drop-in programs, including a traditional tea ceremony, flower arranging or ikebana, and calligraphy. Our friends at Soul Space Yoga Community will be providing free meditative yoga in the Piano Pavilion lobby upstairs beginning Sunday, March 11th, before the museum opens. So you can do yoga while looking at the Khan building. Participants can also enjoy docent-led slow-looking tours of the exhibition, an Asian-inspired fare by the Kimbell chef Peter Kreidler in the Pavilion Cafe. And our latest partnership is with the extremely knowledgeable folks from Elemental Yoga and the Mind Arts, who are currently working with staff to create a podcast series of meditations based on works in the exhibition. So stay tuned for more information on that. But for now, please enjoy this morning's symposium. We have a distinguished group of international Asian art experts speaking today, and introducing them will be Jennifer Casler Price, the Kimbell's curator of Asian and non-Western art, who did an outstanding job organizing the show for the Kimbell and did such a beautiful job with the installation, as she always does here at the Kimbells. Jennifer.
Thank you, Eric, and good morning. Thank you all for being here. I am just so thrilled to be able to present the Myers collection here at the Kimbell. I have a very personal connection to Sam and Myrna. I met them in 1997 when they traveled with me to India, and we've had a friendship ever since, and so we'll talk a little bit more about that when we have our conversation. But first, it is my great pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Jean-Paul Deroche, who first and foremost is the curator of the exhibition. It was his idea to take this collection of 5,000 pieces and sort of cull it down to about 450 and organize it in 4 thematic sections, which, if you haven't had a chance to visit the exhibition, you will see Costumes and Customs, An Ocean of Porcelain, 1,000 Years of Buddhism, and The Magic of Jade. So he's just done an extraordinary job, and I'm glad that he's here today to talk to us more about the exhibition and his relationship with the Myers. Jean-Paul is Professor Emeritus at the École de Louvre. From 1978 to 99, he was the chair and senior professor in the arts of the Far East at the École de Louvre. He is also senior curator of the French National Heritage. From 1977 to 2011, he was curator of the Chinese department at the Musée National des Arts Asiatiques, Guimet, Paris. During his tenure at the Guimet, he was curator of 60 exhibitions in Europe, Asia, and America, and he is the author of multiple catalogs and books, including the catalog for the wonderful exhibition entitled Two Americans in Paris. Jean-Paul is also an archaeologist. He has conducted From 1988 to 90, underwater archaeology in the South China Sea near Fortune Island, which is in the Philippines. Following that, producing a CD-ROM on those excavations, he was awarded the Medal d'Or in Cannes. From 2000 to 2011, he was director of the French Archaeological Mission in Mongolia, and in 2006 was appointed vice president of the Mongol Cultural Heritage Institute. He's also a museum consultant and independent curator. I call him my Energizer Bunny. He's just never stopping and always moving. So he has been a consultant for, continues to be a consultant for the Guimet, also for the Musée de Quai Branly in Paris. He is currently working on an interpretation center for the Humayun Museum in New Delhi, and also the Red Sandalwood Museum in Macau, which is in progress. So would you please join me in welcoming Jean-Paul Deroche.
But the problem of Jean-Paul Deroche is the English. So this is an important one. And, what is the... Oh, okay. And I put the text, is better for you. Huh? What to collect? How to choose? Why choose this specific Tibetan gilt bronze from Dansatil Temple? What does it mean? What is the purpose? Fascination of a Buddhist figure molded in a round? Sense of movement? Exotic face? Jewelry? What are the reasons? The deep motivation? The inner meaning? How was the desire to collect? How did it develop, build, evolve, transform the collector? Of course, it is the collector who is the main actor, the author who writes the story, object after object, construct series, build the spirit of the collection. To answer this question regarding the Sam and Myrna Myers collection, I have to back time. In the 60s, Sam was a young American lawyer who was sent to Paris for 3 years. The city delighted Sam and Myrna, his wife. They fell in love with Paris and decided to move there. They bought at random some decorative object for their apartment until nothing suggests as a collector temperament. What was the first event that marked their destiny to become collector? It was due to chance. A mistaken destination, a chance of meeting a man in Switzerland in Ascona during improvised holidays. Ascona, on the shore of Lac Maggiore, was a tourist and cultural center with circle of famous writers and surrealist artists, such Thomas Mann, Max Ernst, Hans Arp. It was in 1966 during their first visit, that discovered Casa Serudine, an antique gallery in the beautiful historic house built in 1620. Dr. Rosenbaum was the dealer, become their mentor. He helped them realize that despite limited means. But the following year, Sam and Myrna was fascinated by an Egyptian black basalt stone head, which represents a serious investment. It took them 1 year of saving. However, the first step was taken, and 2 young collectors were born. We cannot speak here of detail of 50 years of collecting, of quest and research, which enabled them to acquire 5,000 items. But only look at the major stage of this incredible saga. Today, their collection is always between Paris and Versailles, a green countryside. The 3 floors of that White House were gradually filled with objects. This collection has become the mirror of their home, mirror of their life, mirror of their taste, mirror of their passion. At the beginning, there was no predetermined plan. Sam and Myrna visit museum, antique dealer, and fair. They choose beautiful objects of all types. However, Sam and Myrna, being American, they are not limited to the classical world of Europe, and they are open to the diversity of the world. This attitude appears with the time of great discovery. Various items coming from Africa, Asia, America make up the cabinet of curiosity, with a strange work as this African elephant mask from Cameroon, as this medallion in gilt copper repoussé, presenting a rhinoceros with an Indian to offer this gift to the Imperial Tang Palace in China, or this Mongol rock crystal vase from Liao dynasty of Greek inspiration, or also as this Korean dragon-head tortoise in polychrome wood, as this Japanese stone figure of a bird. Each find was an opportunity to learn, to deepen their knowledge, to move forward in a new field. But soon, their tastes become clear. The Far East won definitively. Paris, in 1930, was the capital of Asian art market. Generally, all collections come back on the market 30 or 40 years later. Unique and emblematic pieces are sold at auction in Paris during this period, like this Eastern Jaw white jade tiger from Charles Vignet collection, which has an affinity with the 2 tigers of the Free Gallery of Washington. It's same for this beautiful Bodhisattva song from the beginning of 12th century, found by Myrna in 1981 in Draw Auction House, as good as the one of Rick Museum or as the one of Kansas City. Has also some affinity to the esoteric Japanese Bodhisattva, a masterpiece of this museum. The intuition of Myers was exceptional, but quickly they understood that is not enough. In the 70s, Myrna decided to enroll in the École du Louvre, completing the full 3-year course in order to acquire the indispensable tool. Myrna has a real taste for study, and at École du Louvre discovered a new approach to art, at once historical, scientific, and comparative. École du Louvre will stimulate his natural curiosity and allow to her build a bridge between work to make connection. She understood, for instance, the subtle link that unique these two works in the same civilization through the time. She discovered the mannerism and the same elegance in this Buddhist and Taoist iconography during the Song and Yuan period. When you have penetrated inside in a civilization, you understand the key that govern it. She also discovered their deep root, the power of the first Buddhist image of Yun Kang in Imperial Cave excavated in 5th century AD, and their spiritual intensity. She understands also the evolution of in humanistic context of Song and Yuan and its adaptation in Japan in the samurai culture during Kamakura period. Their diversity, Chinese path, specific, concrete, human, sensual, the Japanese path, abstract, intellectual, spiritual. It was at this period that we got to know each other, because I held the chair of Far East in École du Louvre. And in a certain way, the constitution of Myers' collection of a Chinese ceramic was more and less influenced by my teaching. I began to participate in underwater archaeology in South China Sea in Haiti. Myrna found that is fascinating, and it played a role in his collection. For instance, this blue and white vase is the same that we found in a shipwreck of San Diego galleon, which disappeared at sea near Philippines on December 10, 16, and now preserved in National Museum of Manila. The cargo of sinking Chinese junk, Portuguese carrack, Spanish galleon, Dutch Indiaman, provide evidence of the sea ceramic trade development. This discovery opened a new field for the study. The vase, bottle, Juve, dishes in Meyer collection illustrate the Ming period porcelain manufacturing and trading. This water sprinkler is similar of the example they found in Lena cargo in South China Sea in 1997. The candy are very characteristic of export. Pouring vessels were destined from Middle East and South Asia. Chinese potter will show great creativity introducing zoomorphic shape. The Meyer collection presents exceptional quality examples, include a rare phoenix vase and also in frog shape. Several in the shape of elephant. It should be noted another rare form, a candy nargile, found in Hatch shipwreck in 1984. This piece belongs to an homogeneous group from the transitional period. Potters during the transitional period, in the middle of the 17th century, between the end of Ming and the beginning of Qing, were free from the constraint of imperial administration and innovate. Artists express their inspiration. Their brush is fresh and rapid, using elegant lines and graduated washes. They excel in a representation of the landscape in imitation of scholar painting, using cobalt blue in a manner of ink. The field of investigation of the Meyer is not going to be limited only Chinese ceramic, but also Vietnam, South Asia, Korea, Japan. For instance, this blue and white Juve is from Anao cargo, a Vietnamese junk of 15th century. The choice of residence in Paris. Important cultural pole with more than 200 museums. The meeting in Ascona with the Dr. Rosenblum. Their American spirit open on the whole culture of the world. The opportunity of Asian art market in Paris and their bright intuition. The test of study of Myrna and his training at the École du Louvre. All its component is necessary to add one last, the opening of a shop in the cultural art of Paris, close to the Musée du Louvre. This shop gradually will become a place of exchange, of experience, a place of expression, a genuine window on Asian art. Sam and Myrna organize regularly exhibition, publish catalog, work with the scholar. Textile seems a perfect complement to the classic porcelain. close link is being forged with Krishna Ribou and his famous international team in Paris concerning the textile work around the Professor Vial from Lyon, Lubo Leninchenko from St. Petersburg, Zhou Fang from Hangzhou, Akiyama Terukaze from Tokyo, Alan Kennedy, and so on. The collection began with the silk of Tibet, liturgical furniture, icon, tanka, mandala, patchwork, and appliqué, and other clothing such as this short coat of Prime Minister, part of a Guyuche royal garment worn by for the Great Prayer Festival at the New Year. The long robe, worn by men and women, the kimono, is a symbol of Japan. It's formed in a T letter, fashioned from 4 bands of material. The long sleeve kimono, called in Japanese furi sode, were worn by the young lady for formal occasion, ceremony, wedding, visit to the temple at the New Year. The decor is very poetical. Flower, bamboo, trees, bird cloud, with elaborated dyed, painted embroidery pattern, heritage from the Heian period and the Genji Monogatari spirit create genuine work of art. Many kimonos in silk and in brocade were destined to No and Kabuki theater. The No costumes are the most precious and sophisticated. This costume replaces the stage decor and need to evoke the condition and the moral quality of the character by the color, by the motif. Kabuki robe, these 2 kabuki robes, create a sculptural and a monumental silhouette. Civilization of samurai, their clothing developed in relation of the armor. Jimbauri were of the armor because the symbol of rank. The moon on the Jimbauri, in this example is a butterfly, is emblem indicates the clan and often with very beautiful graphic design. Paris, capital of fashion, welcomed this Myers event related to the costume. In parallel with this rich fund, another constituted gradually are the Chinese jade. The formation of this collection of Chinese jade was stimulated by the archaeological find and by the meeting with the professor Filippo Salviati, another mentor of the Meyer collection. Jade is a metamorphic rock which is hard but fragile. As always, specific role in China, jade enabled the man who was all it, jade, magnified object made in. The Neolithic ensemble of Meyer collection is unique for the quality of the work, for the variety of provenance, for the extent in time, for the quantity. Indeed, very few museums in the world can offer such coherence. B-disc, song cylinder are the emblem of this collection. We don't know exactly the meaning of this piece. Later, during the Rhine dynasty, the ritual texts speak that the B-disc is connected with the sun and the sky, song cylinder with the earth. This huge song cylinder from the Yangzhou culture, sculpted 50 centuries ago, is one of the masterpieces compared to one in Taipei, Shanghai, and British Museum, with empty cylindrical chimney in the center and made in the angle for kite direction. The Xia Shang dynasty seized the magic development during the Neolithic period, using it to represent the power. Weapon and utilitarian tool transcribed in jade were thus emblem of royal power. With the Zhou dynasty, jade turned over in jewelry. Extravagant, complex pendant reflects the hierarchic organization of the royal society. The humanists we developed during the Han dynasty sought to safeguard the body of deceased prince of the royal family by dressing them in a jade suit called yue. This yue was served for eternity. But with the adoption of Buddhism around the Christian era, the body was considered merely as a vessel on the path of transmigration. It was the soul that will be saved. Thus, jade, yet it's the place to the silk. Now we need to conclude. Conclude is to take stock of this incredible saga of 50 years of 5,000 objects. 3 materials in the collection: jade, silk, porcelain. 3 inventions due to China. Symbolism 3 moments of the universal history of humanity. Jade connected to the archaic time with Neolithic human community. Silk connected with the medieval age, the human community group around religion conviction. And porcelain connected with the birth of the modern time with human secular society. These 3 materials generate 3 roads: the road of jade, the silk road, the road of porcelain. The road of the jade. Jade being considered as a vector that allows to network this primitive community, to gather Rongshan culture, Titia culture, Liangzhu culture, and so on. clearing in a deep forest will meet to carry within the first Chinese dynasty. The Silk Road. The Silk Road, which road crossed desert mountains in the continental Asia and will put in contact Far East with West, Nara and Chang'an with Byzantium and Venice, which convey objects, but above all, idea, way of thinking through the use of paper and the diffusion of printing. The road of porcelain. The road of porcelain became maritime. First, along the coast of South Asia, India, Middle East to East Africa, contribute to the development of navigation, stimulate invention, compass, maritime maps, with as currency the porcelain. And soon, the West will take Portuguese, Dutch, French, British. The contribution in this history of Mayer's collection is very important. With a unique set of archaic jade, 30th century of historic restored to us and integrate 50 years of archaeological work of a new China. With the silk, it is a statue of this material considered as a simple fabric while carrying a high degree of civilization, social, technical, and spiritual. With the porcelain, it is the emergence of a challenge of the modern world, from the birth of industry in China, introduction in 12th century, and international trade. Indeed, we must look for the source of globalization in the history of porcelain. Thank Myrna, thank Sam for this gift, for the better understanding of our world and their deep root. Thank you. And sorry for my English.